What's good, man? It's your boy Juicy J, man. Shout out to Virtual Homework Podcast.
Oh my God, we're here.
Is this thing on? Do you remember how to podcast?
No.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked. What happened?
I have no podcast for 3-week flu.
Yeah, well, yeah, you literally got sick due to lack of podcast. I got COVID. That was bad. Shouldn't have done that.
Like, was it?
It was
actually,
a really bad
like,
decision.
Really fucking bad.
No, I actually for legit. I'm not trying to like downplay COVID.
I had the best COVID experience I possibly could.
All I want to say is that, like, for me, who has been vaccinated and is relatively young, it was like basically easier for me than a common cold. However, I know people who've had worse symptoms than me. I was lucky. That's what I'm trying to say. I was unlucky in that along with other scenarios in my personal life caused me to not be able to record the podcast for a couple weeks. Actually, I want to say that this is all Dana's fault. You're masking. You don't trust me. You don't trust the quarantine. God
I don't trust
damn
you.
it. Not only was me getting COVID Dana's fault, even though he's like multiple 100 miles away, missing the podcast, Dana was being a diva. He's like, if you don't up my pay from $400 to $400,000 an episode, I'm not doing it. So I finally secured funds.
Wait, the Patreon and OnlyFans actually paid out?
No, we have some oil money investments, if you know what I mean. I got in touch with the leader of Venezuela, and he's liking what we're doing. And as long as we don't have an anti-Venezuelan slant, we could most likely continue.
Yo, shout outs to Venezuela. Boo, boo, boo.
Out of context with your fucking Mao poster, which is now like a Mao shrine with your Funko Pops and other bullshit. Like, that's not a great look, man.
I think for me it completes the whole everything. It's like Funko Pops and Mao. Like, nothing is like, it's like the worst, literally the worst. And the body pillow.
A lot has changed in the past like 4 weeks or however long it's been. One, we forgot how to podcast. We've gone on way too long on random bullshit. Two, You got a little bit of a Mao setup. Three, we're trying to break into the East India market. We're learning Odia. Well, Dana's learning Odia. Yeah. I got some Odia translation on some of our most popular clips. Oria. Yeah, Oria is also what it's called. It's not working out. It's not a great pivot for both us as human beings.
Like, do you think you could learn this shit? Like, look at that. Like,
yeah,
no, you can't.
It's not great.
Like,
the script is hard, man, but everyone knows.
Besides
all the, cool
the
kids.
Point, this is the last day. We're really recording on the 30th. This is basically the last day of 2021.
And even though this episode is going to come out in 2022, I feel like it's important for us to look back on the podcast in 2021. Going out with a bang, just not posting in 4 weeks, and then pretending like everything's normal. We have not pretended like everything's normal.
Everything's fine.
Everything is fine. And 2022 is going to be a great year. There's going to be a couple changes for the podcast. I think that the most important thing is emphasizing our well-being, if that makes sense. Not to say that this podcast is not like I'm not trying to say that this podcast is hurting us. That's insane. But the format of the episodes, the requirements going forward are going to be a little bit more loose. I think that overall it wasn't necessarily the amount of editing work. Okay, yes, it totally was the amount of editing work that caused a lot of episodes.
Well, it's because we have like fucking 2-hour-long episodes for no reason.
Yeah, well, actually, we ended out talking about Gucci Arcade for like 70 minutes. That's fine. That's fine and normal and healthy for me to like have a 3-day turnaround. But what I'm trying to say is that going forward, virtual homework is still virtual homework, but we're not going for C's on the homework. Okay, we are going for A's, and because of that, we got a couple changes going forward. One, we will still have episodes every week, but we are going to try to keep them to an hour. We cannot have 40-minute episodes. That's insane. Two, we are going to have games in mind. We're never going to have an episode where we don't have a game picked. However, we are not going to aim for a weekly time frame. If we finish in a week and we're comfortable about playing a game, like hypothetically, if I pick a game like Gorogoa that literally is an hour, we only need a week to do that. However,
I feel like this was a genuine problem we had. Like, we would pick a game and then we'd be rushing to play it, and we just wouldn't get the full picture of the game. Like, this will allow us to actually fully play a game without having to like skip a week because we didn't play like the whole game or something.
Yeah, and obviously we want to play as many games as we can on the podcast. The podcast is virtual homework, but if a game takes 2 weeks, which is what we're actually expecting, instead of a game every week, we're talking about a game every other week. That is fine because that means that we actually got to play it more and we actually got to have a real, genuine connection with the game. If it takes 3 weeks, if I pick like Death Stranding squared, a Metal Gear Solid 6, and it's like a 700-hour game, it's like that might actually happen, but it means that we're going to have a better discussion regarding the game. It's going to increase the quality of the content, and because we're still having episodes every week, you're not going to miss out on anything, if that makes sense. You might miss out on like some bullshit discussion on Metroid Dread when we both played the game for like an hour, but besides that, I feel like it's going to be really healthy for the podcast going forward.
I'm excited for it.
I'm pretty excited for it too, but what I'm more excited about?
What's that?
And I'm rubbing my hands together. That's the sound you hear in the back. I want to talk about our year in review because we did this last year. Last year was the first year of the podcast, and because of that, we had a lot of changes.
Have we really been podcasting for almost 2 fucking years at this point?
It's insane. It's more that we started the pandemic. We started the podcast,
and the pandemic is still happening.
Yeah, we started the podcast in the pandemic. We did not start the pandemic, and it's more of a testament to the pandemic than the podcast because time is no longer a thing. It's kind of just it's going simultaneously fast and slow.
Here's the thing: it's like we're
all gonna die.
Basically, always worked and had to be in public around thousands of people. That's probably why I'm ill right now. But
Anyway, with that happy note, let's talk about the last year in games. So last year we had 35 episodes, and I think
yes.
Well, actually, I think we had like 36 episodes with 35 different games. This year we had 43 total games, and I want to say that Ori counts. If Ori makes any of your lists, then feel free to count it. I don't care about spoilers.
For those who don't know, we played Ori in the Blind Forest this week.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So last year we had 35 episodes, and this year we had 43 episodes. And while there was a lot of change from episode 1 to episode 35, I think there were a couple more because there were like 0.5 episodes. Probably like 37 total. We did a top 3 and bottom 3 list, and honestly, I don't even remember. I'm gonna look up what the top 3 and bottom 3 were.
I don't remember it fucking all what it was. I think my top was probably Hollow Knight.
Yeah, and I got things to say regarding Hollow Knight. We're probably gonna talk about it when we actually get into this game. However, we had top 3, bottom 3. Your top 3 games were 999, The Witness, and Hollow Knight, not in any order. Mine were 999, Hover Racing, and Mother, which is probably a little bit more controversial picks, but at the same time,
I don't think it's controversial at all. Hover Racing, if anything, is like a game we call back to so much as being like a fantastic game.
Yeah, and as part of that, I have no regrets with my list, but I guess it's probably not something that people would expect looking at the 35 games we picked. So this year, I actually thought it was a little bit harder to rank them. I feel like we played more high quality games, honestly.
Yeah, we didn't play very many very overly shitty games. We didn't play fucking Giraffe Town.
We played 43 games, so we played a little bit more, but I even then I think that there were less bad games in these 43 than there were in the 35 from last year.
There were a lot of games.
Yeah, I noted that I had I was just looking at my list because the way I did it, I ranked every single game, and then I was like, oh, I have a top 5 and bottom 5 because I wanted to make sure I was thorough. And my bottom 10, it really, really drops off, I think. It's mediocre. It's wait, we played absolute crap with these 40 or with these bottom 10.
All I did was top 5, bottom 5, and honorable mentions for both.
Okay, I didn't even have. I guess I technically have honorable mentions because I have 6th and 7th place, but. Yeah. But before I even get into my top 5, okay, no, you know what? I have other stuff. I'm not gonna drag
Go
this
into your
down.
shit. I don't care.
Okay, all right, top 5, and then your top 5. We'll just make this really easy. Number 5, Wadham. I actually was surprised how high this went up on my list, and I think it was just because I had a really good emotional connection to this game, and I
actually remember you really resonating with that game. It was I could take it or leave it, but I remember you really enjoying. That seemed like a game you or your girlfriend could enjoy.
Yeah, fundamentally, it's kind of a mediocre gameplay experience, but I just have a really strong emotional connection to it. I still boot it up from time to time. That was the first game we played this year, by the way, so I'm surprised it made it into my top 5 list. Number 4, The Fireman, I think that's one of the best SNES games I've ever played, and I was extremely surprised by how good it was, especially because we came off playing the Ignition Factor. I'm like,
which
this is gonna suck. This is gonna suck. Just like honestly, what a game for the Super Nintendo. Super short, doesn't overstay its welcome, feels like an arcade game, but it isn't bullshit. I really enjoyed that, and that would be an amazing speedrun to do. Number 3 on my list, okay? Number 3, and these are ordered, so it's not like they're all on the same tier for me. If that's not how it is for you, that's fine. Number 3 on my list, Bejeweled Twist. I didn't mean to rhyme, but I played so much goddamn Bejeweled Twist, and it was necessary. I needed to play Bejeweled Twist because I had to feed my addiction. Yeah, exactly. So shout out to Bejeweled Twist for getting me addicted somehow. I haven't been addicted to a puzzle game in a very long time. But speaking of games that really were starting to get me addicted while I was playing them, number 2, and I know this might be a little controversial because it is a new game this year, but Psychonauts 2. I guess I had to make it 2. I don't know. I'm talking like an announcer, like some
game was sick as fuck.
Yeah, I want to say, and I think that we haven't had an episode since the Game Awards, I have never seen a game more robbed in my life than Psychonauts 2 was at the Game Awards. It made me...
I mean, are you really surprised, though?
I'm not surprised in a way, but at the same time, like, I wanted the Game Awards to be the most legit organized. The thing is, all award shows suck, and the Game Awards, I wanted them to be an exception. They're not an exception. They're going to pander
to whatever, higher ups or people that are completely disconnected from like what games actually people like. The thing is, the winners. I guess I didn't know the best game of the year winner. I didn't even heard of it. It's like some random indie game, but like the winner of like best cinematography or whatever they say the equivalent is for gaming, like. It's Rewind or whatever, the game where you die over and over again. It looks really nice, but like it's not Psychonauts 2. It made me really upset that Psychonauts 2 won 0 awards. I was so pissed. I feel like a lot of the awards were based less off of like how fun and amazing like the gameplay was and how the overall gaming experience was versus like how each of those things were like separated, where there's like music, score, or like graphics, that kind of thing, versus like
best overall presentation. I think best presentation actually was a category that Psychonauts 2 did.
Really?
But
well, then fuck the Game Awards.
Yeah. Psychonauts 2, like it's weird. You could tell that like even though some of these AAA titles that did win have so much effort, and they're extremely like well produced, and like they deserve some awards. Like there's just like a tangible feel of like someone putting their heart and soul to Psychonauts 2 that some of these games just feel soulless. That's it. Like what was it? Marvel Avengers won some awards over Psychonauts 2, and I'm like, fuck
Which
this.
Is like,
fuck you.
Yeah. I think it's understated how impressive Psychonauts 2 was. To be a game, how many games have come out like as a sequel, 10 years, 15 years later after the fact, and they end up being fucking garbage. Psychonauts 2 was so unbelievably refreshing. It fixed all the problems we had from the original game, which I'm not the biggest fan of the original game. To create an experience that like I think about like actually quite often, like Psychonauts 2 fucking ruled.
And then number 1, this is not a surprise at all, Hades. I have not... Yeah. Psychonauts 2 was amazing, but I have not felt the same way I felt...
You were addicted to Hades. Yeah, like we both were.
I have not felt the same way I felt about video games that I felt about Hades since I was a child. Like this literally brought back the childhood innocence of gaming to me. I know it's not a game for children, but I was fucking hooked on gaming again. I didn't think it was possible. I legitimately thought, and like this is actually something I want to talk about with Ori, where I loved Ori. I'm gonna say that right now. But
really? That's awesome.
I thought that while I was playing Ori that like, for some reason, I just can't get into a game story like I used to, but that Hades is the exception. I loved everything about Hades. As you might be not surprised, my honorable mentions are Ori and the Blind Forest. I have 3. Well, I have 2, actually. Honorable mentions, Ori and the Blind Forest and DJ Max Respect 5. Really enjoyed both those games. However, I don't think they have what it takes to be in my top 5. That said, Wadham is in my top 5, so what am I talking about?
I mean, like, it's all, at the end of the day, it's what we like the most, You're allowed to have your top 5. This is going to be a lot less exciting when I go over mine, because, like, there's going to be an extremely large amount of overlap.
I'm not surprised, and I'm sure there's going to be in the bottom 5, too, but I do want to note 2 things. One, Mario didn't make top 5. I had Mario around top 10, Mario 3D World plus Bowser Fury. Maybe that's because I played 3D World on my Wii U. But
you know what? I when I was doing my top 5 or whatever, I did not consider Bowser Fury as a standalone title. I think Bowser Fury's alone could be a top, like, probably like a 6 or 7 for me. That game was fucking sick.
Yeah, but 3D World drags it down, sadly. And then the one game that I feel like it was really unfair to me to rate this year was Metroid Dread, because Metroid Dread we didn't do enough. We really
I played
the ball
a
on that.
shit ton of that game.
Did you beat it though?
I'm like on the last part.
Okay, but I meant for the episode at least. Like I feel like
I played it a lot after the fact.
Really
I probably played like 10 hours of it at least.
Okay, you should have beaten it by now. Then isn't it like an 8-hour game? I played like 2 hours of it, and I wish I played more.
My problem is I do like all the extra shit. Fuck, man, that's going in. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. Okay, are you ready?
All right. Yes.
All right. So number 5 is DJ Max Respect. I have not been as attracted to a music game in a long fucking time. I pretty much only played like the 4-key.
Yeah.
But as far as like music, as far as how fun some of like the harder charts were, there's the problem with a lot of music games. Once you start getting to the harder charts, they become not very fun, if you get what I mean. Like,
yeah, it's just kind of like a wall of notes, and like you have to do like weird, awkward hand motions, and like also the fact of the matter, like there's also a point in a lot of rhythm games where you go from able to do everything to now everything's impossible, and there's like there's no learning curve in a way, and I feel like DJ Max Respect fixed a lot of those problems. But continue.
Oh, absolutely. DJ Max Respect absolutely did that. I think it has a fantastic curve of difficulty. I ended up buying all the extra packs. I have like 1,000 songs.
Jesus, did you spend like $1,000?
I spent like $100, but
oh my God.
yeah, I still haven't played it since, but it's still, in my heart. In 4th, I have Psychonauts 2. As we said, fantastic game, fantastic presentation, visually, gameplay, everything about it was, the full package. I'm not going to say it's a 10 out of 10 game, but like an easy 9 out of 10 for me, There's a lot shittier games that we played this year. 3rd, this is so boring, The Fireman. That game fucking ruled. Literally one of the best Super Nintendo games. I think that was like the
surprise of the year.
Yeah, basically it's the surprise of the year. It took both of us off guard how much we actually enjoyed that game. That'd be something I would love to play couch co-op. Like if we ever get together sometime, like that's like something to do on the list to play like together. Cause I'm pretty sure you can play that 2-player, right?
I think you actually can't, if I recall, and it's like misleading because you have like a robot partner, but the PS1 version has co-op. But I could be wrong. Regardless, I feel like we've said a lot on Fireman. We got to get through these lists, man.
Oh my God. All right. Number 2, Diablo 2.
Nowhere on my list.
I probably played like several hundred hours of that when it came out, like to like a disgusting degree. I think I was playing it like 13 or 14 hours, like sessions, like every day. Like it was really, really degenerate. I haven't played it for many, many months. I'm sorry that you did not have the same experience as me. And then number 1, Hades.
Yeah.
For the same reason as you. Hades is just one of the best games I've ever played. In the same frame that you had mentioned, and that it brought up emotion that I have not experienced myself since I was much younger. A lot of games like, oh yeah, this is super cool, and then we play 4 or 5 hours of it, and then never again. This was a game that we were both like addicted to. Like we were both like going back and forth saying like, oh, I did this today, I did that today, oh, I finally beat it, and it's the end game is so expansive and stuff like that. It's understated how fucking good that game is.
I literally had to stop myself. I'm like, I can't do the end game because I know it's gonna like ruin my life. It's gonna be like 200 hours of my life gone. I'm like thinking about it now. Diablo and Hades are kind of similar in some ways. You're gonna say no, but okay.
No, they absolutely are. They're both dungeon crawler type.
Why
games.
Why did I not like Diablo? Who knows?
Because Diablo 2 is very, very archaic, and I like it because I've played like 10,000 hours of it.
So
Diablo 2 is extremely a boomer game.
The 2 games that are different. We both had Fireman, Psychonauts 2, and Hades. I thought Bejeweled Twist and Wadham deserved some spotlight. You thought Diablo 2 and I already forgot the other one.
DJ Max Respect.
Okay, so pretty much the only thing we disagree with is on Diablo. I think it's the worst game ever made. You don't. But just because I spoiled my top 5 for you, you could do your bottom 5 first, and I'll see if I agree.
Well, I actually have an honorable mention for
I
best
forgot
game
about
of
these.
the year for me. So for me, honorable mention, Gorogoa.
Wally.
Gorogoa, in my opinion, was one of the best games, if not the best game I played this year. I just got so soured by the price and the length of it that I couldn't make it a favorite. Like if that, like straight up, if that was a $5 game, that would easily be on my top 5. That game ruled.
I put Gorogoa probably criminally low because of the duration and price. Like I just didn't think it was like I have Gorogoa at 24. I have it solidly in the hat. I have better than it. I have Wally. I got actually there's a lot of games here that
loved
were great.
Gorogoa.
I loved it, but I also loved Wally.
If you go back to Gorogoa, you like
75 times.
Man, if this was $5, this would be game of the year, man. Like this is like game. This game that was you, straight up you.
I have it better than MC Kids. That's pretty good. I could probably like change some of these middle rankings. Like I'm not sure. Gorogoa is better than
bottom
WarioWare.
5. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So
fifth worst.
This is I guess 5th worst. Bejeweled Twist.
Fuck you. Just moving on. Fuck you.
I'm not a Bejeweled guy. So
fuck
you. You've known me for X amount of years, and you've known my disdain for Bejeweled. I find it to be so boring. You find it cathartic. You know,
no, I genuinely tried to get into other Bejeweled after Bejeweled Twist, and I couldn't do it. Bejeweled Twist has what it takes to be one with my heart. Other Bejeweled sucks. I don't like other Bejeweled.
So for those that don't know, Sam was like literally like horribly addicted to Bejeweled Twist after he played it. Like how I was playing Diablo 2, he was playing fucking Bejeweled Twist. Like he was playing it so fucking great. Much. He would see like screenshot me. He's like, look at this fucking, fucking insane super
I would like
combo.
show him my progress, and it's like you can't make it to that level without putting in like just in one Bejeweled game alone like 19 hours. It's like I had to do it. I had to.
4th worst, Gucci Arcade.
That was towards the bottom of mine, but it didn't make it. I'm not going to spoil too hard.
Gucci Arcade was pretty bad for me. The next is going to be Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire?
That's not the worst.
That's not the worst. Right. It's 3rd worst for me.
All right.
That game just didn't have much substance. Like the questions sucked. Like the graphics sucked. Like everything about that game was fucking garbage. Next for me is going to be Hai no Tori Huhonen Gao no Boken.
I like that game.
I hated that game. I hated that game.
You didn't even seem like you hated it when we were like doing the podcast. Like you seemed to...
it was the type of thing that I like actually looked at the list of games, stuff like that, and I remembered why I disliked this game. That was like the game where you had to like beat, and then like you had to find like invisible doors. You had like no way of knowing where they were to go.
But it's an NES game. You have no forgiveness. Come on.
It just I don't know. I don't like it. And then number 1 worst game of the year was Fuser. Fuck Fuser. Fuser sucks. I hate Fuser.
So, all right, yeah, Fuser is probably the worst rhythm game I've ever played. I'm not even joking. I played like Rock Revolution. There's some pretty bad ones, but Fuser takes the cake. I will admit that. However, I think you have a glaring omission. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I do. Balan Wonderworld.
Okay, I mean that's a good honorable mention. But how in the world is Sense a Cyberpunk Ghost Story not on your list? That's like the big titty game.
So that game wasn't like a worse game because that game was actually playable.
All right, well I'm gonna get into my list. Do you have more to say?
No, that's it.
All right. Number 5 for me, Star Sector. Do you remember Star Sector?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember Star Sector because I had an idea of the most forgettable games, but this is the only game on the list that I genuinely forgot we played, and I had to like look up what Star Sector was because I forgot that the game existed.
It's an simulator, so it's like unless you like are into that kind of thing, like it's not your type of game.
A bleep simulator indeed. I legitimately thought Orwell's Animal Farm, which is honestly it's very mediocre. I thought that was the most forgettable game we played, but I was like, oh, this one's actually.
I remember that game though. That game was actually had something to it.
Yeah, Star Sector. It was like it did nothing for me. Number 4. Actually, wait, did I fuck up? 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. That's my number 4th worst. Number 5. I fucked it up bad. I'm sorry. Metro 23 Redux. It's just not my type of game. It's just like a zombie shooter. I just had no enjoyment playing it.
For me, that was a game that was like meh. Like it's the list of like 20 games this year that were like eh.
It brought up memories of me sucking at COD and all my friends kicking my ass at COD. I'm doing this by myself. Why am I kicking my own ass at COD? This sucks.
I used to wreck people's face at COD.
Yeah, so that's me, Mr. I don't like first-person shooters. But anyway, number 4 we already have. Number 3, Fuser. Fuser was the worst rhythm game I probably ever played, and it cost $60. Yep. That was a terrible purchase, and I probably have... I don't think I have 2 hours. Maybe I could refund it. That'd be pretty nice. Number 2... Sense, a Cyberpunk Ghost Story, just because I wanted to put this as number 1. My number 1 is Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire. My reasoning was there's almost something worse about this being a game that like has ideas and failing at every single one of those ideas. Yeah. Not only was the game incredibly broken and laggy, you said it was playable. I don't think this game was playable. The game ran at like 5 FPS at times, and also like
you played it on Switch. I played it on PC.
Okay, that's true. But yeah, the game was nearly unplayable. The game is exploitative from the start, and I think that it was genuinely unfun. Okay, that's scary to me. We have a sociopath on the podcast. But I guess the idea of Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire is so offensive to my brain, and the idea that someone would spend money on that I had to put it at number 1. Like, imagine, because like that game cost $30 at one time.
What year did that game come out in?
1998 or something?
Yeah, that's like classic 90s though. Like,
I guess I would just be so pissed. I couldn't do it.
That's like a boomer game. Like boomers played that game in the 90s. Like, it is so fucking terrible. I mean, it was both on our same list. But Fuser and Bejeweled Twist are obviously the worst.
Fuck you. Anyway, what I want to say now is honorable mentions, Gucci Arcade. And I wanted to say that WarioWare was probably the most disappointing AAA title that we played this year. I'm never going to play WarioWare again. That's it.
Yeah, I could agree. No, most disappointing title was Parappa the Rapper.
That was 2020.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the last episode of 2020.
Fuck.
If I want to say like most disappointing, and it's not even a disappointing game. In fact, I really like the game, but there's something with Return of the Obra Dinn which made it I don't think I could ever go back to that game. And like,
it was a cool game.
It was a cool game, but like, there's just something weird about the praise of that game versus like my enjoyment of it. Like, I could recognize that as a great game, but maybe it's just so polarizing I'm disappointed by it. Maybe that's it.
Did we both not play enough of it? I played a couple hours of it.
I played a couple hours of it too, and I enjoyed it, but like, I feel like I didn't really do much to scratch the surface after like 3 hours, and like, I don't think I'm gonna go back because the game is just like too confusing, and I just like, it felt like it was there's whatever. I could go through every single one of these games and say bad things about them. I'm just picking on Obra Dinn because it was weirdly low on my list given how much praise that game got.
I'm like just thinking about Sense of Cyberpunk story and just getting like, yeah, I'm getting irritated. That probably should have been an honorable mention for me, but I think I'm happy with my list actually.
Okay, I'm happy. I'll share you my list after this. But in the meantime, what did we play this week?
So we played something.
This is probably a record, by the way, for most time. So I looked into it, by the way, while we were talking, and we totally did the game first, and then the top 5, bottom 5 after last year. So I fucked that up. But anyway, what did we play this week?
So we played something a little bit out of left field, something that we normally wouldn't have played.
God.
We played a little known classic called.
You think this is left? I'm actually unsure if you're memeing about this being left field. This is like,
yeah. Are you kidding me?
Okay,
like,
I'm scared.
This is like every fucking check mark of every game we've ever played in this podcast. Okay. This is fucking Ori and the Blind Forest.
More like Hori and the Blind N64. What is Ori and the Blind Forest, Mr. Metroidvania?
So for all intents and purposes, it's a Metroidvania, and might I say I don't want to say it's the best one I played. To me, it plays as a slightly worse Hollow Knight.
If it was so good, why wasn't it on your list?
Well, it's not like that as good as like.
It's not top 5 material. It's not even honorable mention material. Come on.
No, not for me.
Okay.
Like I said, so I love the genre of Metroidvanias. You know, I've played like basically every Castlevania game, all the DS ones. I've played a lot of the other ones that have come out and stuff like that, and I find this to be strictly a worse version of a lot of those games. For those that don't know, a Metroidvania is a game where you are put in a world and you start off with no abilities. You go around the area, you go to a spot, you're like, oh, I can't get here. You find abilities. Okay, you can go there now, and you collect things, and that's it. This is a cut and dry example of that. And what do you have to say about it?
I mean, if we're talking about Metroidvanias, Metroidvanias have a balance of like either heavily platform or like heavily combat based. I'm gonna say Hollow Knight had a lot of platforming, but at the same time, the combat was a little bit more emphasized in Hollow Knight versus this game. I would say this is like 90% platformer, 10% combat. Yeah. Like in reality, like this game is something you can kind of just mash through every single enemy. There's a little bit of dodging. I played this on normal. What did you play?
I played it on normal as well, and then, you know, that's actually a great point. Like, the hardest part about Hollow Knight is actually the combat versus the platforming. Like, there's some actually like, genuinely difficult platforming sections in this game, and I can see why that's a little bit more enjoyable for you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say right now, like, this is an extremely good game. As someone who didn't like Hollow Knight, I'm the only person in the world who could not get into Hollow Knight. I think there's a couple reasons why. First of all, I think that one of the reasons why you don't like this game as much as Hollow Knight is because it doesn't like exist in this dark, desolate wasteland where there's no happiness. Okay, yes, the story of Ori and the Blind Forest, because we didn't get into it, is you are essentially this ball of light, and the world has fallen into darkness, and you're trying to get nature back. It's basically Fern Gully with platforming.
Can we also talk about how the first 20 minutes is like the heaviest opening to any game I've ever fucking played?
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous. There's like this big fat guy, and that's literally a good description.
It's just like, oh.
Yeah. And he's like,
my heart.
He's like happy, and then like he has a little pet, and then like he basically, spoilers, if you skip the next 30 seconds if you care about the Ori plot, which some people do, he dies, and then like the world goes into wasteland, and you gotta fix it. You gotta make nature good again.
Yes.
I did not try to make that political at all. It just came out that way. And yeah, you go from area to area trying to get rid of all the bad shit, and that's the plot. People legitimately online like talk about the Ori plot like it matters. I could not get into the plot at all. I just tried to go from section to section.
The plot's whatever. But the platforming is
it's tight.
Pretty fucking good. How far did you get?
So I got farther than you just based on achievements. I beat the second area. There's 3 basically larger zones that you have to complete a main objective.
Okay, yeah, I beat the tree. That's where I got.
And then I beat the mysterious woods or whatever, which is the one after it. But the world, and I was alluding to it before, I'm all over the place with this, is extremely like beautiful, and maybe that's where I like this game a lot more than Hollow Knight. Yes, the platforming is where I really like this game. To me,
I think the world of Hollow Knight is a lot more beautiful. Like this game, to me, like everything is just like woods, rotting spider webs and thorns. I didn't get farther than where I was. That's basically all I saw. Was like every zone basically being a different color of the exact same thing. I didn't find the music score to be anything remarkable or anything like that compared to like Hollow Knight.
The music was loud.
Yes, it was very, very loud. I had to turn it down several points versus in Hollow Knight, like each zone had like breathtaking visuals, music, like different characters, enemies and stuff like that. Like basically every enemy in this game is a bastardization of like a blob with spikes.
I guess that's true. I may like with Hollow Knight, I don't even remember the music at all, but I just remember it being very atmospheric. It was like a bunch of like weird wisp sounds that like met the area you were in pretty well. I could be wrong on that. It's been a really long time since I played Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
And then this game had very generic like video game epic music.
It sounds good.
It sounds good, but it's like nothing that you're not going to play the soundtrack and remember like what section is to what section. Maybe if you really, really like Ori and the Blind Forest, but it's standard orchestra fare. The graphics, yes, they are not necessarily something that like is super unique, but at risk of like comparing this game to a billion other games, I would say it's like in between Hollow Knight, which is like extremely atmospheric and its own thing, and like a game like Unravel where it's like kind of trying to be hyper realistic. It's very much in nature, but it's nature in its own like fantasy world.
Yeah.
And it works, but it's nothing that it looks beautiful. In fact, I was incredibly impressed because this game is, yes, it was published by Microsoft, so it's not technically, I don't know.
It came out in like 2013. Like, this is an older game.
2015, so it's not that old. But this game was made
old.
by 10 people, and for that, it's very impressive in its scope. It's very impressive. It was published by Microsoft, but I thought it looked amazing for 10 people. It sounded great. It played great. Let's get into the gameplay a little bit.
Yeah, I want to say that's the main draw to Ori is just straight up the gameplay. Like, everything else is kind of secondary. Had the graphics and like zones and everything been more atmospheric, and which is what I love, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. But the gameplay is fucking awesome. As far as, jumping, getting new abilities, leveling up your character to augment some of your abilities that makes your attack stronger, things like that. It's very, very enjoyable. Might I say there are a couple frustrating sections. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the ability in which you can like grapple onto a projectile and then you can like aim it a certain direction.
I wasn't a big fan of that when I started either, but the next section, like, it's one of those things that you get so used to it that
that's basically what happened.
Arsenal, Jesus. I think that the game does a pretty good job of building on the power ups, like in that the next section you will like be used to it and it'll become another tool, but when you're learning a new power-up, you kind of have this syndrome where you're like pressing every button on the controller and you're going to accidentally mess up. And it was a little bit frustrating. I thought most of the frustration was by my own design, and that like the save point system works where if you get enough of these power-ups, you can make a save wherever. And that's fine for the most part. But because it expects you to save often, and I'm not used to games allowing me to save often, I would often forget to save, and then like I would accidentally die, and I'd be like, crap. I have to go back so far, and I'm so frustrated by this.
I had the same problem with that. That was actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I forgot. My major qualm with this game is, like you said, I'm not used to just saving all the time. And you'll get into a groove. You're like, oh, I'm doing this. I forget to save. And you'll just hit a spike and instantly die. And it's like, oh, I just lost 10 minutes of progress because I'm stupid and didn't save.
Yeah, I think there's only like, I played this game for like maybe 6 hours. I'm pretty close to the end, I think. And that.
Oh, wow.
It says I have like 20 hours on Steam. You know that's not true. But
you have 20 hours for every game.
Yeah. The game in like 6 hours of gameplay maybe has 3-4 saves. Like it really expects you to save, and I feel like that gamers in a platformer are just not used to that. They're used to like going into a new area and it's saving for you.
I also didn't like that, so it's like, all right, I do section, save. All right, go, 2 feet and fart, save. Like, it kind of slowed down the gameplay for me when I just wanted to go. I think this game would have been so much better just for like every couple feet or something like that. It just does more auto saves, or anytime it's like a little cutscene, just like
any checkpoint.
Yeah, like that would like honestly, this game's probably like an 8 out of 10 for me. Like this could have, or maybe like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me. It would definitely bump it up.
At least
I would definitely bump it up another level if it just had auto saving, because that was the most frustrating thing. Like, there's nothing worse than being like at the bottom of an area. Like, you're like, all right, I saved, I just got a thing, and then it's like you go to the top, jump, do all this, do this cutscene, fight a boss, whatever. And then it's like, oh, there's a spike, and I hit on the wall because I jumped wrong. All right, I'm back. I have to do all that again. And it's like, all right, which power-up did I get? All right, I have to go over there and get that power-up,
I think that the issue is that this game wants saving to be a skill in its own right, because you basically could only save as many times as you have the certain amount of power-up. So, like, hypothetically, you could, like, bank your saves, and, like, for a section that might not have the currency that's required to gain saves, it's like, oh, you only have 5 saves in the section. How are you going to use them? But what ends up happening on normal is that there aren't enough areas where you have a dearth of save points that, like, the skill of saving doesn't really exist. Maybe if it was like a harder difficulty and you just had the ability to save less and you were actually like being skillful with your saves, it would like have more meaning. But because normal, like, you can basically save after every hard section, you're going to frustrate yourself more than usual because you're just going to forget to save, and it's going to be
that's basically what happened to me. Speaking of frustrating sections, there were a couple. I did not like the water section. There's like a water section after you beat like the tree and like fly up. That was a little bit frustrating. I mean, I did it after like 5-6 minutes of trying, but that was kind of a pain in the butt.
Get get good. I think that the section after that one is actually significantly more frustrating. But I was surprised how much emotional attachment I had to the gameplay. Like I said before that like the story didn't really do it for me, but even so, like I feel like when you get older, some of the magic of gaming is lost. And like even if I like die and I waste a lot of time, I don't really get as frustrated as before. I was getting frustrated because like I wanted to succeed in this game and like I was pushing myself. So I thought that was a good aspect for this game. I don't know.
I'm glad you enjoyed this game, like, because I'm under the impression that you hate these kind of games, but
I like Metroidvanias.
But I feel like a lot of the ones we played are so combat heavy, and this is like pure like platforming, and it's not like bullshit platforming. It's like fun platforming.
Yeah, shout outs to Ori.
Maybe we'll play the second one sometime.
Was looking into the game a little bit that little tidbit about a development team of 10, and yeah, the last one for some reason I thought it was still in development. It came out last year, and like this is a game I'm excited enough that maybe I'll finish it. I mean, we know what's gonna happen.
I bought the bundle. I got both games and the definitive edition for like $10.
So okay, I don't have the other game, but maybe with the new format of the podcast, and I actually have time to play other things now. Maybe we'll actually go back to games. Well, it's not going to happen, but maybe, maybe.
Well, let's try to beat this game. We can come back next week and finish.
It's never gonna happen.
Well, then we can't play the second one.
Well, we can play the second one and say we have to beat the first one to do it. There's scenarios here. We can make it work. I'm gesticulating so much. My hands are going everywhere. I don't know why. I can't stop now because I've acknowledged
Testiculating.
I just want to mention, because on the topic of reading the Wikipedia page for this game, apparently the definitive edition just fixes some bugs and adds like some
Another
DLC
area
for the original game. It kind of makes it one thing, and now you can't get the regular edition. Also, it added the ability to warp from save point to save point.
Can I make the point that when you buy the bundle, it gives you the regular edition too?
Oh, really? I thought you couldn't buy that anymore. Wow. Apparently,
I have all three.
The definitive edition is basically just a better version of the original version, except unless you're a speedrunner, because the original one has better glitches. But that's it.
Yeah, this is definitely a game I remember like glancing at a speedrun for, but I don't remember it at all whatsoever.
I want to say Half Coordinated, who's a pretty well-known speedrunner, speedruns Ori, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things.
Oh, there's one of the main people for GDQ play this.
Yeah, he's like a Pokemon is his name.
I swear to God, he's like on staff at GDQ.
I know. But no, he stopped. It's Volagin, by the way. I finally
Volagin, yeah.
His profile picture is a Celebi or something like that, so that's why I was thinking that. But shout outs to Volagin. Shout outs to Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't really have much else to say. What do you got?
No, that's it. I think this is definitely a cool game. You made me actually think a lot more about my opinions on the game as you were explaining like the difference between that and like Hollow Knight, how this is like much more platforming, and just things I didn't think of. So it actually made me like the game a little bit more.
There we go.
My brain is in sick mode, so it's just like I'm just fucking fried, man.
All right, did we mention that yet? That you're dying? I think we did.
Yeah,
I think we did.
So we did. I'm sick. It sucks. I imagine there's gonna be random like ugh.
And this game is sick. I'm gonna add in epic coughing. Can you cough a little bit? I'll pepper it in the podcast. This is not no. He's actually coughing here, but it's muted for your pleasure.
I was like pretending to, and then it's been way too long. This is like the most I'm going to be talking to anyone outside of work. Where I'm like, hey, how can you help me?
Yeah, and it just so happens to be when you're sick, when it actually hurts to talk, which is pretty dope.
Dude, it sucks. Like I got COVID tested twice. I got my PCR test. What was it, on Friday, and it came back yesterday as negative, but it's like I maybe I wasn't like viral then, and then I got a rapid test Monday, and then I took one Tuesday morning, but then Wednesday is when I started feeling fucking terrible.
It's better than just getting COVID.
Well, but I tried looking for tests today.
Well, I'm just trying to tell you that I one-upped you, even in getting sick. I got the big guns. Get wrecked.
Yeah, you're bigger and better than me. I'm learning Oria, so.
Okay, well, yeah, a lot of things have changed in the last month. We're completely different people. I got a Google Home here now.
It looks cool. It's just super hardcore, man. Like I like have this set up in the back because you got me that Funko Pop, and I realized I have a Funko Pop collection.
Like, how are you still alive right now?
Like I'm finally a Funko sexual.
I hope not. There's a very big difference between owning a Funko Pop and like shoving it up your ass.
Finally, LGBTQF Funko.
Probably is an F. I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, we got to add another letter because like that's like some like right-wing attack helicopter meme, but F actually legitimately has to stand for something.
Stands for Funko. I have some cool stuff up there. Like I got a couple One Piece statues. Like
you got a squishable. That's the most important thing.
Dude, that thing is actually dope as fuck.
Yeah, squishables.
The plague. What do you have one
Plague
too?
Doctor? Oh, I don't have a Plague Doctor. I have like 75 squishables though.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Of course. I'm not gonna list them off right now because
dude, you gotta show me your squishable collection. They're like, here's the thing: they're like stuffed animals, but they make like dope ass fucking characters and stuff.
Yeah,
like we have like giant tacos and like popcorn. The problem is they're disgusting.
Yeah, you work at a game store, so like that's like half your store. I forgot.
Yeah, like we sell that shit. Like literally everything on that back wall I've bought from my work,
except for one of the things in the middle.
Yeah, except for Mao. Which
no, I'm not even talking Mao. I'm talking about the way worse than Mao thing.
I was gonna like meme totally and have like a skeleton sitting here when I started the podcast. I thought that would be really funny.
Too high effort though.
No,
do you have the 7 foot tall Home Depot skeleton?
Like in my room?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Like everyone was like flipping shit to get it. Like I just have it in my fucking living room.
Yeah, you put it in the chair. That wouldn't really work. I would just see like the skeleton breast.
It's just like 2/3 of my my fucking living room is just like on the side skeleton. I'd be down. What's with does your apartment have the same problem where it has no natural lighting and you have to bring your own lighting?
No.
So my old house and my current apartment, they had like no natural lighting. So it's like every room but the fucking kitchen is like and bathroom is like pitch black unless I have like a lamp which doesn't illuminate.
You got to pay good money for that natural lighting, okay? They put on the apartment page faces the sun at all times. Just like that one shout outs to Ashgabat with your statue of the Turkmenistan dictator that rotates to face the sun. Not every item, including apartments.
Can I buy that statue?
You can't. It's made of pure gold. It is like 20 feet tall.
But do they not like that exact one? But can I like buy like?
Yeah, you're already like on thin ice. Like we have to have a long and hard talk about whether or not we have to. We're reaching a breaking point, and while it's hilarious how much hate we get for that Mao poster in the back, it's like
Do you think it's like ruining our algorithm?
No, I think it's helping significantly because it's like people who like, not normally comment are like actually engaged.
Well, meaning like, do you think it's like negative content? Like it's flagged like, there's Mao in this video, so it's like flagged in the algorithm.
So I've been trying to bridge the content gap by making TikToks, basically just audio shorts that have like, like the sound bar, and posting them to YouTube, and they have the exact same amount of views that the ones with us in them, even though they're significantly lower effort get. Yeah, you know what? I'm gaming the system. It is how it is. But yeah, basically YouTube Shorts, it does not matter what you post, it'll get views. So
that's
yeah,
pretty cool. So how's that going?
I've had to listen to our older episodes and I want to die. I just want to straight up die every single time I hear. We were so bad at podcasting. We're still bad at podcasting, but like we've at least reached a level where the conversation
listenable, like when you're editing.
I've been like listening to these older episodes. I don't even think we're friends in the older episodes. It's like I say something and then like you don't know what to say. You're just like, oh, I guess I'll just like have a 8-second pause and then say yeah, okay, when I like say something, and it's like, oh my god, why did we put this on the internet?
So the problem is I'm naturally fucking awkward and terrible conversationalist. But it's another reason why I enjoy doing this because it keeps me, my Asperger's down to a manageable level.
That, and I feel like 95% of the so I'm up to episode 7. Okay, I've made short clips and highlights of the first 6 episodes, and that's what I did in the last month. It took me a month to get through that.
What's a fucking highlight from the first 7 episodes? Are there like actually any funny moments?
Well, like, honestly, it was legitimately interesting to see what our opinions on quarantine were, which were the exact same as everyone else's opinion. But you talked about Arby's a lot. Like 4 out of 6 episodes, I think you talked about Arby's, like an unbelievable amount.
And then like 50 episodes later, I forget I talked about Arby's and I talk about it again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you'd do this fun thing where you talk about something and then you would immediately talk about it on the next episode and it'd be like, you just talked about this. You're like, oh, okay.
I remember there was a period of time where you would say that. I think it was at the beginning of this year when you literally talked about that like 2 episodes ago. My brain is melted, so...
Progress, okay? We're doing better. We're more high energy, and I think 2022 is gonna not suck more than this year not suck.
I'm just excited to podcast again, to be honest.
Yeah.
More than you know.
I have a month of topics, and like I had to just throw all of them out because it's like the recency, like no one cares. It's like me talking about like the Suez Canal like boat shit like 6 weeks later. It's like no one cares about this anymore. But the one thing that I actually legitimately think we should talk about, did you see that Chris Chaik DDR extraordinaires at a Taco Bell commercial?
That is one of the coolest things, like, just ever. That is just fucking cool. Like, you could say whatever. I don't know. I love it. I think it's really cool.
I was hoping you didn't know about this. Of course you knew about this. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I was like, well, let's watch it together on the pod. I haven't seen it. What else is new?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what's something that's insane to me? Like, COVID is going nuts in New York, and they're still having fucking Times Square shit happen.
They're doing it?
Yeah, like there's gonna be like millions of people there.
Dude, they're all gonna shit their pants. I can't imagine a worse time. First of all, like New York City, Times Square, New Year's Eve is like the worst thing you could possibly do, and now you're gonna get COVID
you literally can't leave. Like you're like ass to ass people for like
and you
hours.
have to be there before like 4 p.m. or something like that. Yeah, like, it's something like insane amount of time to like not be able to. And also, people sneak in alcohol. So like it's cold, often raining, you can't go to the bathroom, and you've drank a bunch, which means you have to go to the bathroom.
And then, so it's like it puts more into fucking context, like when Ninja was there trying to get people to do like the floss, like why people were so enthused because they were just so over it at this point. They're
their
like,
bladders are probably, it's like if I do a single floss pump, I'm pissing myself, which for some is fine because they wear diapers, but.
Is that really a thing?
No, people legitimately wear diapers to New Year's Eve Times Square. I'm not joking.
Like, why would anyone go to this? It sounds terrible. Like, you just get drunk, you piss yourself, like, you have to watch Ninja? Like, is it just so you can say you did?
100. The thing, okay, I guess, because I just looked up Times Square diapers, and there's like a billion different articles on it, so it is true to some extent. I'm not going to do like a heavy amount of research. Those people, they obviously know what Times Square is, so I don't know why they would do it, because they're willingly going to a terrible time and like wearing diapers. But like, I feel like the vast majority of people who attend New Year's Eve Times Square just don't know how bad it is, and they only attend once. But
and you just never again.
Yeah, so like that's the majority of the audience.
So what you're telling me is that we need to bring ScatCon to Times Square.
That's a deep cut, and no one's gonna know what we're talking about, and they're gonna be really scared that you said the word ScatCon, and we got to move on. We're done.